I actually had no NASCAR experience. I didn't watch NASCAR, didn't even know pitting or Jackman or whatever it might be. It kind of was random. So.
What are you most proud of in your time with the Purple Raiders down there at Mount Union?
Being a captain, I would say, and then being able to build relationships with the players, and then not even the players, the people off campus, and then the teachers too, because at the end of the day, football is not always going to last the longest.
Hello, welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. This is D1R 225, and we're excited to be back with you here tonight. We got some big-time topics, two incredible guests, two very different guests, I think, tonight on the pod. We're going to start things off with Ian Marshall, the former Oklahoma State product turned small school product when he made his way down to Division II Northern State in the Northern Sun Conference. He was Conference Player of the Year, a defensive lineman that was one of the best in the region, if not the country, an All-American. After his playing days, tried to earn a professional opportunity. That didn't come for him, so he turned his sights to NASCAR, where he now is the Jackman on a pit crew there. That is an awesome conversation. A guy who we had on the show over 100 episodes ago was actually one of our former sponsored athletes. I had the chance to catch up with him when I was down at the AFCA convention in Charlotte. So pumped to have Ian back on the show. And dude, talk about an unconventional career path. You finish your football playing days. Now you're the Jackman for a pit crew in NASCAR. He said he trains the same way as he was, almost the same way when he was an athlete. So we pull up some really good clips. Definitely stay tuned for that conversation. Later in the episode, we've got Kaleb Brown, who is an All-American in his own right at Division III powerhouse Mount Union with the Purple Raiders. He was a three-time All-Conference selection, also on the D-line / outside linebacker type position. He just announced that he's making the move up to Division I, the FCS level with Tarleton State. So getting him on the podcast, he's just the latest of some really talented D3 guys that we've seen make that jump up to the Division I level. In D2, we have I would say the awkward departure of a Division II head football coach. Maybe not a prominent team right now because they've been struggling, but a prominent program in the D2 landscape in the Midwest. We'll talk about that awkward departure, and then we've got a big-time stadium update / announcement down south that I'll break into, and you got some renderings that I think you have to see of a team that, let's be honest, you look at that, they're not going to be D2 for very long. So in Division III, I've got Seth and Jimmy joining me later on. We've got a Division III coach that thinks he could be an Olympian. We get into that. It's an interesting one. And then we've got a very notable coaching hire at, again, a lot of Midwest football this episode for good reason. A very notable coaching hire. UW-La Crosse has finally announced their next head coach of their program 42 days after their previous head coach, Matt Janis, announced he was leaving to join me up here at Northern Michigan. So we'll break into that a little bit. And then Wartburg just made some big news. They announced their 2026 schedule. I think the Knights have the best non-conference schedule of any Division III team we've seen in the past, I don't know, ever, of me at least knowing of D3 football and covering the sport. The Knights announced a big-time schedule. We'll get into that and more later in the episode. Fast forward, use the timestamps at the bottom of the episode if you're on YouTube. Fast forward to any part of the conversation. They're just down there. And then get the hell out of here. Otherwise, listen to the whole thing. We appreciate you so much for tuning in. And without further ado, let's get into D1R 225. Joining the show, his last appearance was way back on D1R 109. It's the former D lineman at D2 Northern State turned NASCAR pit crew member, the RFK Racing Jackman himself, Ian Marshall. What's up, brother? Good to have you back.
How you doing, brother? Pleasure to be back on here. Pleasure to be talking to you. I'm excited.
I'm excited to talk about this, man. Going from pass rusher to Jackman, that is what most would be considered as a natural career progression, huh?
I would say, yeah, it was pretty seamless. I mean,
okay.
As a Jackman, a lot of things kind of just fit as an edge rusher. So, or like a rusher, period. I was D tackle, not an edge rusher, but same thing.
Yep,
Being on
true.
The corner, getting the quarterback.
That's what made your game different, though. You know, going back and watching that is for a guy in the interior, for the volume, you're able to get to the quarterback and do that. That's what made your game different. Now, though, get to watch you in a very different capacity, which is really sweet. I want you, though, to hear from you instead of me try to explain it, because obviously I've seen at a kind of a wider perspective what you do. Outline exactly what your role is within that crew, man, and I'll show some videos so these people kind of get a good sense of what you got going on.
Yeah. So essentially my role is to get the car up, the stop can't go if the car's not up. So I get the car up in one stroke. We got a one pump jack. They're about 20, 25-pound jacks. Got to get it up in one stop. Then I hang the right front. I'll cut the jack. This year, I'm swinging the jack behind my body now instead of just cutting it and running in front of me.
I saw that.
And then I'll hang the left rear, check off in the front, and then I'll cut the jack and stops over. Car's on his way.
I like that. So the behind the back, that is not for style points. That's just part of the process.
It is, yeah, it is part of the process. You get some style points included in there, but
Okay.
that's something new that started last year. I'm not 100% sure if it was Gibbs or 2311 who started it, who actually brought it to pit road, but we seen it. Obviously, we wanted to implement it into our game. That's faster getting around the car, swinging it behind your body. And then now here after Daytona, it kind of looks like everybody is kind of
That's the new
slowly.
tech. That's the new
technique.
tech.
Absolutely.
I like it. Was that a
Absolutely.
practice rep right there? Because obviously, after you guys do your change right in the pit stop there, the car doesn't rip off. It's kind of like a calm sense. Is that more of like a practice rep
Yeah.
in that situation?
Yeah, that's a practice track. Sometimes we'll do, 4 tires with a launch, meaning,
Okay.
you cut the track, the car will launch out, but majority of our reps come just with a stationary car like that. The car will come in and then obviously we'll pit it and then we'll kind of just sit in the box afterwards and we'll watch the previous rep on film.
Yeah, that Daytona had to be a ridiculous experience, I imagine.
It was that. So I'm not a huge super speedway guy. I kind
Okay.
of think, they're long races. They're a lot of drafting, not anything crazy. You can see some big wrecks, but yesterday's Daytona, that was a fun race. That was a
Mhm.
really fun race. I can't lie. It might have changed our perspective a little bit. We saw a lot of crashes, a lot of good racing. The playoffs format has changed this year from last year. It was win and you're automatically in the playoffs. Now this year it's all points based.
Okay.
So I think we're gonna see more harder racing, but I'm so new into racing. I don't know a whole lot about it. I guess we'll see.
I even, as someone not really in the racing sphere, I saw that finish, and it's just been making its rounds, all across the internet. Love that for the sport. Love that for you and the
Yeah,
boys down there. Going through
absolutely.
this POV. Love these style of videos. These are awesome. You blur when you're taking the wheels off here. You got the blur. Is that calipers, suspension? What are the trade secrets? What's the point of what are you trying to hide underneath there, dude?
Correct. It's all suspension setup.
Okay.
You
Okay.
don't want to give out what you're running exactly that in case
Okay.
someone wants to see it and I don't know, take it. Maybe go win a race with that suspension and what do they do right there kind of instance.
How fast is the usual stop and turnaround right there for you guys? What's your number?
So it really depends on the track. Like a super speedway like Daytona, you're really seeing like a 10-second average pit stop. You got
Okay.
slow droops, meaning the tire comes out of the wheel well slower in order to pull it. But if you go to like a Charlotte or a Darlington or something like that, you'll see fast, but you'll see anywhere from 8.3 to 8.5 average pit stops. Like a
Interesting.
true average on pit road would probably be 9.5, a true average like across the board.
Yeah.
But you'll have those teams who will go out there who are just on fire and will run, an 8-second average.
The real question is, you finish up your playing career, you've got some professional aspirations, so you train for that, and this was not plan A after you hang up the cleats. How does this come about? How do you even figure out in the first place that this line of work might be a really good fit for you?
Yeah, so I actually had no NASCAR experience. I didn't watch NASCAR, didn't even know pitting or Jackman or whatever it might be. It kind of was random. So after ball, I was training for my pro day and
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to the UFL, NFL, whatever it may be. And I was working at Best Buy at the time. So I'm working at Best Buy and my coach, Jake Irie from Northern State, he sends me over an email. He's like, hey, this guy reached out asking about you. I think you should give it a look. All right. So I looked through the email. I'm going through it and I'm reading it and I have no idea what I'm even looking at. So I kind of sit on it for about a week or a week and a half. And I'm sitting at work one day. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm wasting my potential, my talent or
Okay.
something. And I end up going on break. I give this guy a call, Brock Silvers, which is my pit coach. And we kind of went on from there. He's from Missouri. I'm from Missouri. So we kind of already had that tie. And then, we got the ball rolling. I was like, yeah, I'll come out on a tryout. They flew me out. They put me in a hotel. I came out on a tryout for about a week. Cool. But at that time, I was about 290. So I was big. And, you don't really see 290 Jackman on pit road. That's like
Okay,
a
gotcha.
position. And after that, first tryout, they were like, yeah, if you're serious, we'd like you to lose some weight. And I was like, yeah, I'm serious. So I get back home. I lose about 20 pounds, come back in about 270. And then have my second tryout. They ended up liking it, seeing that I was serious with losing the weight. And then after that, they ended up offering me a contract about 2.5
Dude.
weeks later, and the rest is history.
Just a whirlwind, probably, I have to
It,
imagine, in that
it
time span there.
was. It's truly a blessing though, man. I mean, because like you said, it wasn't plan A after football. Plan A was to get into the coaching side of things and stay around football. But once I got around the car, saw it practice, started messing with the jack, I was like, man, I could really do this. And I'm so fortunate and thankful that I did take the opportunity because I love it, man. I truly believe I have the best job in the world. I get to travel. I get to I'm still an athlete at the end of the day. I train like an athlete. I practice. I watch film. Everything athletic, except I'm not in a traditional sport environment, so to say.
Yeah, not so much. And I certainly would agree with that again as I learn more about this sport. But when I watch your videos and you hear yourself getting jacked up like before and the car comes in, you're getting ready for this thing, like you're obviously getting ready to go. And then when you guys celebrate, you turn that thing out, it gets going, you guys celebrate and we're dapping up and we're ready to, like, you get excited after a big and a quick turnaround like that. This is much more of a team sport than I think myself and a lot of others maybe get it credit for. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Honestly, it's really almost more of a team sport than any other sport I've been a part of. You got 5 guys in a car and you have to be so in sync and in tune with the guys around you in order to run fast pit stops. Like, it is really hard to run a sub 9-second pit stop. Like, that's truly hard to do. So to have that camaraderie and have that bond between your guys and your crew, to me, has been a bigger aspect from football. In football, you got 11 guys. One guy can go make a play, or you miss a play or miss a tackle or miss an assignment. You have 10 other guys to go help you make that play. For me, in my role, if I miss a peg or if I mess up a hang, that severely affects the stop. It can go from an 5-second stop to a 10-second stop in the blink of an eye. And so, like, my group of guys, I love my guys. I have a great group of guys. We're always hanging out. We're always around each other. And so our bond that we've built has allowed us to run fast pit stops.
Yeah, and all of those things you talk about, because of that, the lack of numbers and that coordination, all those potential mistakes are magnified, right, by that much, because of, everything needs to go right in those couple seconds. How does that adrenaline rush in that 8.5 to 10 seconds stack up compared to a 4th down goal line stop, a strip sack, those type of moments on the football field? How do you stack up?
Man, it's just so different. Obviously I loved getting sacked. I loved getting TFLs, whatever it may have been. Like, your body just explodes with joy. But it's a lot different when you're jumping out in front of a car coming 60 miles an hour into a box, let alone the 35 other cars that are also coming down pit road. Yeah, so it's not just your car it's not just your car you got to worry about. You got to worry about all the other cars around you, and you don't know what the driver's going to stop. Obviously we have marks that the driver should stop at and that you would like him to stop at, but you just never know. So the adrenaline rush, it's just so different. It's almost hard to explain until someone actually does it. Yeah. But I would say it's almost more of an adrenaline rush than football, than getting a sack, than getting a TFL. Because you're taught as a kid, don't go out and play in traffic. Yet here I am doing it professionally. You know what I'm saying? So it's just different. It's just so different.
I like that, man. Now, you talked about training. You are still an athlete in the role that you provide for this group, this pit crew. How is your training regimen? How has that changed? How does that differ maybe from when you were still playing ball? What are some of those big differences that stand out?
Sure. Honestly, for me personally, it hasn't truly changed. I've always tried to train like an athlete, whether I was playing football or after football. That's just kind of like the style of training that I enjoy. I still sprint. I still do change of direction. As a Jackman, you are quote unquote the most athletic of the group. Essentially you're the quarterback. The stop time, how fast it goes, is truly determined around or dictated by the Jackman. So I try to stay as athletic as possible. I still, I power clean, and I still, I squat. I don't really bench press as much anymore. I still did, but I do a lot other things just because it's so, jacking so hard on your shoulders and your low back just from the positions that you're in. So, but other than that, it's standard training. Standard strength training you see in a college weight room is kind of what I tend to do. I have, though, something that I wish I would have done a little more in football is I focus a lot more on mobility now.
Yeah,
Because
saw that.
in order to get into those positions, hanging a tire, you have to be mobile in your hips and ankles, just like in ball. But I feel like it's been a little more emphasized now because it's just so awkward from what you're used to as a field sport athlete.
Mhm.
So I definitely focus more on mobility, but everything else is generally the same.
Do we get any like weighted barbell reps behind the back to anticipate for that little switcheroo there?
So, sometimes I'll mess around with a kettlebell and swing it around
Seriously?
my back. It just doesn't really translate as you think it would.
I mean, it's got to be tough to replicate some of those movements. You got to get a little creative, I bet.
You do. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
tough. It's like I said, they're all awkward movements that you don't grow up putting tires in a car or trying to jack up a car in one stroke. That's just something you don't do.
I guess another kind of to close it out here, what would you say to a guy that's either just finished his career playing at the college level or is going maybe into his last season where, hey, might have some pro aspirations, but might be a guy that maybe that's not the end goal for him but wants to stay involved? What makes this a viable line of work, and what would you say to those guys and how to get involved in this thing, man?
Yeah, I would 100% recommend it to any and everybody post college ball because realistically, not everybody's going to go to the league, regardless of how big your aspirations were. I thought I was going to go to the NFL. I was an All-American. I was this, I was that. And I still fell short, which is fine. And I always had that in my mind that this is still a far-fetched thing, regardless of how great I was in college. So if people are still looking to compete, be an athlete, travel the world, and make a great living, I would 100% recommend pitting and not many people know about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, people just don't think, oh, I'm going to go put some interest in NASCAR. Like, that's just not the first thought in people's minds.
Correct. Yeah.
And my way of getting into the sport was different than, people in the past. I was recruited. I was, handpicked. I was recruited. But for people who are trying to get into the sport, I would just reach out to teams. I would, maybe your buddies might know somebody who's in the sport or who you never know. I would, social media, find emails, pretty much everything is on their website in turn, for Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske, RFK, RCR, their colleague, 2311. There's plenty of teams out there who are always bringing in guys for tryouts. So for our tryouts, we bring in maybe one or two guys at a time. But for like Hendrick will have an actual combine where they bring in like 50 guys.
Come on.
Over, over a few days or a week or whatever it might be. And then they'll dwindle it down, bring in a group that they pick from that, and then kind of go from there. So each team's different. But the first start that I would go from is just, finding emails, social media, whatever you can do to get in contact with the pit coach or someone in that area. That's kind of how I would look at it if I would do it all over again. Also, if you have interest in it, just look at, other people's stories. There's people out there who have talked about their stories and kind of like how they got into it and stuff like that. So there's a lot of information out there that people just don't know about. Just got to do the research.
Absolutely. That's why I like hearing about it from you, dude. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's totally change of pace type deal, and it's something that's unexpected but very welcome. So I appreciate it. You're the man, dude.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Curry. It's a blessing to be back on here, man. I love what you guys are doing. I'm a big fan, and I'll always be a fan.
Only a couple quick topics for D2 football tonight. I'm solo tonight talking about some GLIAC football to kick things off in a little bit of an unconventional one, but one that I think we need to talk about. Tyrone Wheatley, and you see it on the graphic, his awkward departure from Wayne State. Awkward in a couple of different ways. This is the post from Wayne State here, just pretty straight up, pretty standard. Staff update, WSU announces resignation of head football coach Tyrone Wheatley, hires Terrence Isaac Sr. to lead program. That in itself, pretty straightforward. Now, the events kind of coming around this make it more awkward, hence that title. One, the fact that he resigns at this point after an 0-11 season and his third season as the head coach of the Warriors down there in Detroit, Michigan. But the timing of it after National Signing Day is very awkward. It also comes after Coach Wheatley, has cleaned staff, basically, and cleared house with most of the staff from Wayne State and kind of forcing them onto their next opportunity. They did have one coach on staff that was sticking around, at least in the short term, and Coach Sala, who's coaching the linebackers and I believe involved in special teams, actually had some overlap with Coach Sala up here at Northern Michigan. You might know him for his relationship to another prominent Coach Sala in the NFL, where that's actually, well, where this Sala is going to join the Titans. So Wayne State is having a major overhaul in their staff and what that structure looks like down in Detroit. This is not necessarily something I'm very surprised by. I think the general rhetoric around people in this area and that follow this league is that, hey, we don't really know the specific details about what his buyout and what his contract might look like and what he's owed and whether that is for cause or not. You get all those different specifics, but the long story of it is everyone kind of assumed, because of the time and because of how long they held on to this decision, he would be back in 2026 for this team. Now, this is where this news kind of comes in as a little bit of a shock. The quote here from Coach Wheatley, he says here, quote, "After thoughtful reflection, I've decided to step down, believing this is the right decision for the student athletes and the university. I am sincerely grateful to our players, coaching and support staff, alumni and supporters for their dedication and belief. It has been a privilege to serve this community." He also added at the beginning of the release, he said here, that, quote, "As a head football coach, I accept full responsibility for the program and the standards that come with this role." That's what he shared in that release. And Wayne State, for those not familiar, competes in the GLIAC, arguably the best conference in Division II football, certainly one of the with some powerhouse programs there. This is a team that is just maybe over a decade removed from a national championship type of program and performance under Coach Winter and company down there. They've done some really special things, the Warriors have, not to be confused with Wayne State, Nebraska in the Northern Sun. But again, it's an awkward move. Wheatley went 5-28 in his time as the head coach of the Warriors, including that 0-11 season just this last year. Before that, he was 5-18 from 2019 to 2021 at Morgan State, the Division I job that he held previously to Wayne State, that he made that move down to the Warriors. The 2 seasons that he had there with the Bears, they definitely struggled to find a little bit of traction. For the former NFL veteran, the Michigan great who played running back for the Wolverines, it seemed from the outside like, oh, this is a very interesting hire. He didn't have a very decorated coaching career and record going into Wayne State, but this is a guy that is so familiar with Michigan, has some great roots, and has a very esteemed level and this pedigree to him that maybe he can invigorate this Wayne State program that has struggled in recent years. That experiment has just, it's not panned out. It really has not panned out for them at all. And what becomes even more interesting is that as soon as he was released, and this was published and made public, about half an hour or an hour later, they announced that Terrence Isaac Sr., who was poised to be the offensive coordinator for Wayne State, he's actually stepping in to fulfill the head coaching role, and he will be leading the Warriors, as we can tell, in 2026. So I'm hoping they get that thing turned around. I think inside of Detroit, that is an incredible area in terms of pulling talent, high school, transfer, otherwise. They have a great pool to pull from. They've got some existing talent on the roster. A lot of guys did leave, though, because of the coaching uncertainty and the lack of success. So I'm very interested to see what happens there. As far as Coach Wheatley is concerned, this news broke also earlier today. Illinois has hired Tyrone Wheatley as its running back coach, courtesy of Pete Nakos there of On3. The former Wayne State and Morgan State head coach and star Michigan running back, longtime NFL running back assistant, too. You see him there pictured in the Jacksonville Jaguars gear in one of his stints in the NFL. So he's already found his next landing place. He'll be coaching the running backs at Illinois. Illinois' team page would also go on to make that official later in the day. That's the short of it. The other weird piece that I feel like I'm obligated to add on here is that allegedly he didn't even show up to the team's end-of-year banquet following the season. That is what has been reported by multiple outlets, is that Coach Wheatley missed that banquet. Now, whether that decision had been made prior to that arrangement or not, I don't know, and to be honest with you, I didn't really do a whole lot of digging. That's just not really one of those things that I care enough to go and dive into. I would not consider us investigative reporters here. Just want to report the facts and kind of give our little spin with the opinion on it. But this feels like the right move for Wayne State. And as unfortunate as it is, the guy who seemingly had some great ties to the area and brought in an NFL pedigree to a program that has placed many a star in the professional ranks, this seems like the right fit. Give a restart on this program and get things moving in the right direction, because I don't think it was any brighter with Coach Wheatley at the helm of this thing. I don't think you're going to see any drastic improvement heading into 2026 with a new staff. It starts at the top. Wayne State realizes that, and that'll be the move going forward for this Wayne State team. That's kind of all we know and all needs to be said about this Wayne State program. Now, we'll move down to the Gulf South. We've got some fun news down there in that West Florida breaking ground on their new stadium in Pensacola. This is a ridiculous one. And we had head coach of the Argonauts, Coach Nobles, on the program a while back to talk about this setup. This was the rendering that we had posted on Twitter and quote tweeted that. Did some pretty good numbers. People are excited about this thing, man. This is some really, really huge news for the Argonauts and has sparked really a big conversation about them moving up into the Division I ranks. This milestone was hit on February 11th, 2026. They officially broke ground on what will be the new stadium for the Argonauts. Here is a good photo of the actual ceremony. You can even see they got the mascot in there with the shovel, the official breaking ground ceremony down there in Pensacola to kick things off on what is going to be called Darrell Gooden Stadium, a multi-use football and events facility that represents UWF's growth and significant investment in the community. That's your your generalized pitch, that type of thing. Now, what you need to see are these renders because these are ridiculous. Take a look at this. Oh my goodness. This is a stadium that is going to rival the best in all of Division II football, and certainly some at the FCS level. You look at not only the stadium setup, the expanded seating capacity from approximately 3,800 to 7,500, which is a very prominent increase there, but the infrastructure surrounding the stadium and that football center there, the big press box, and that massive video board behind the end zones. There has been considerable thought and other processes that have gone into this, and man, it looks phenomenal. Whoever does these renderings, man, and totally understand, like when they put these renderings out, they're trying to go get money. They got a huge grant from the tourism department down there, as they have proven they're going to bring in a lot of money for this community and those places down there in Florida. But whoever does these renderings, they're doing it pretty well. They're doing it pretty well. So a couple of the facts here about the new stadium. It says the new stadium will have premium seating, club areas and suites, along with modern amenities, quote, that enhance the game day experience and allow the facility to host a wide range of events beyond football. So obviously this will be, like most, if not all in D2 football, a facility and a piece of turf that is all-encompassing. It's more than just a football team. There will be other teams on campus that will utilize this facility and this setup. You also have to imagine that people will rent things out here. You find that some of the nicer stadiums in Division II will sometimes be used as like football, state, playoff, and championship type environments. I know the Superior Dome up here at Northern Michigan hosts the 8-man football championships every year, which is pretty cool. They come and play in that. Now, the stadium is being funded through a combination of institutional investment and donor support. The lead gift is in excess of $9 million, hence the name Darrell Gooden Stadium right there. Project also received, I kind of mentioned, the $2 million grant from Escambia County's Tourist Development Council, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. The first kickoff at Darrell Gooden Stadium is planned tentatively for the fall of 2027. So we won't see them play in the stadium this coming season. I think that's not ridiculous considering they just had the groundbreaking ceremony the other day. The construction will continue while the Argos compete during the 2026 season. And as a part of phase development, a new state-of-the-art LED video board measuring 85 feet wide by 30 feet tall will be installed in the end zone. So there's a lot going on here. What you need to know is that this elevates the product and the atmosphere of everything that goes down there at West Florida. This is a team that will not be Division II much longer. The Gulf South's in trouble, right? I think that's what you need to know about this. The Gulf South has lost some teams in very recent history. You look at Conference Carolinas coming and poaching some of those squads that have been football-only members in the Gulf South. Even go back just a couple of years, West Georgia, who made the jump from D2 in the GSC up to the Division I FCS level. West Florida, the Argonauts, Coach Nobles and company, they seem to be on the fast track to follow in West Georgia's footsteps. Who can say how long that will be, how long that process will take? Of course, we've seen some pretty crazy jumps in the last couple of days / this last week with Sacramento State going to the MAC and NDSU joining as a football member of the Mountain West. Certainly don't feel it's an FBS level move or caliber move for the West Florida Argonauts, but FCS is certainly in the question. So we'll see what conference makes the most sense for them to make that jump and what that timeline is. We can only speculate, but that's kind of it for the D2 football scene, man. Let's keep this thing rolling in D1R. Joining the show tonight, it's the latest D3 football star, making the jump to the next level, the All-American out of powerhouse Mount Union, and the newest addition to the Texans down at Tarleton State. It's Kaleb Brown. What's going on, brother? Glad to have you.
How you doing? Nice to meet you. Nice to have you. Thank you for having me on here.
Absolutely, man. Excited to get you on here. And like I was telling you, I think it's been a minute since we've had some Purple Raider representation on this show. That needed to change. Get you on here. What better time? You're coming off the announcement that you're moving up to the FCS ranks. Congratulations on the new move. What made Tarleton the right fit for you?
Since I stepped on campus, like as soon as I got off, really when I first got off the plane coming from Ohio, like the weather, that was big, man. Like I was like, oh, yeah, this definitely feel like the one. And then I had got on campus, met all the coaching staff, and it just felt like a family. It didn't feel like they was trying to like just have me there just to really like be another number. They really had a plan for me, and they are gonna let me do what I got to do and grind it, make that spot. So it felt like the right place to be at.
I love that. And you grew up, was it Maryland?
Maryland.
Okay.
I was raised in Maryland.
Maryland to Ohio, now down to Texas, just world tour now.
Say it again.
I said Maryland up to Ohio, down to Texas. We got the world tour, at least inside the United States, man.
Moving around. We gotta go everywhere. We gotta get a little bit of everything going on.
I like it. That seems to be the case with this signing class for the Texans, man. You talk about a record-setting 63, had reference to notes, new additions to this team. What excites you about that number? Because to me, if I'm looking at that number, there's 63 new guys on this team, that means a whole lot of opportunity. I have to imagine some pretty big roles that are going to be open.
It's a whole lot of opportunity. And the thing about that is, too, like you say, 60-some people coming, but it feel like everybody been there because everybody got the same goals. It's no ego type of thing going on around here. Everybody just coming to work. So it feels like we all been together because we all is like-minded people. So and it's really a good thing to be around too, to see how everybody working on.
Not really a change in the colors there, huh? Look sharp.
I got to stay in that purple and black.
Yeah, I like that, man. I like that. And now I haven't seen too much tape on your new squad, but curious, how do they plan on fitting you into that system? Are they still going to have you kind of on, I don't know what they run defensively down there. Are you still going to be that on-ball, outside backer type of presence? What does that look like for you moving forward?
I'll still be that on-the-ball, outside backer type of player. And if we got some type of drops and stuff, I'll still be getting into that too. But I'll be in the same type of position that I was at Mount Union. Good.
So then they obviously, I'm going to assume they saw that translating very seamlessly to the next level and using you in a very similar style?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I just can't wait to get out there when we start getting them pads on and showing everybody what I can do.
Yeah. Was that a big part of that conversation? Because obviously you field other offers, some Division II, some other Division I offers around that level. Was that a big part of the reason for choosing this spot in a place where defensively you might see yourself fitting in a very similar fashion to where you've seen a lot of success at the Division III level?
Yeah, it definitely seemed like this would be the best fit for me. I had a couple FBS offers, but it didn't really feel like it was going to be too much of a home as it would be here. And just looking at the scheme and actually having a relationship with our defensive coordinator here and seeing how he likes to run everything and how he runs his defense and how the pressure he keeps on us, because I like someone that's going to be able to pressure me to be great. And that's just going to help me do what I got to do, because coming from Mount Union, it was a standard. And I just don't want to be and nothing less than that.
Yeah, man, you go back to that signing class. The team reportedly had the #1 signing class in all of FCS football. That's legit. And of course, you're bringing 63 guys. Like, let's be honest, there's a good chance you're going to have the #1 signing class because of volume. You still got to bring in some dudes. So this class is full of obviously a lot of talent. You pair that with a 12-2 record last year, a win over Army in double overtime. The pedigree of this team, consider me now aware of this Texan squad as someone who maybe isn't as locked into the FCS space. There's some really good football down there. How impressed were you when you went back, I'm sure, and looked at some of the past record from this past season from that Texan squad?
It's crazy because when I'm bored, I like to just pull up the games like anytime I get the chance and just watch it and then see how they play, get the takeaways, how the defense just flying around. The offense was explosive. And we just looking on the build that they was 12-2 last year. We looking to go all the way without any losses. We just got to build. Like every year they've been building, and there's no reason why it should go backwards.
100%, man. And you talk about yourself now. You go back. You only played football for 1 year before committing to Mount Union. And Mount Union's a team and a program that brings in a huge freshman class every year. It sometimes can be really tough to stand out in that type of environment. How did you make an impact almost right away with the Purple Raiders?
I think it came with just me coming into meeting rooms every day and actually showing that I'm not just a person that just gonna sit behind and just wait for opportunity. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna do what I got to do. I'm gonna put in the extra work. And I wouldn't say it's all me too. I had the older guys come help me bring me in too, and just really like see that I had potential and just take me under their wing. Like we talked about Duke Hill, like he was one of the dudes that helped me come up and show me how to do things and show me how to become a captain too, because I had a lot of maturity to do too during the time over the years. So that was a real big thing.
How do you feel you paid that back, going from that perspective and learning from some of those guys and being a guy that was a 3-time all-conference, multiple all-American type dude on that defense? You feel like you paid that forward to that next group picking up the reins over there down in Alliance, Ohio?
For sure. Like I still talk to the people that's there on the team that's coming up this year. Like it should be no drop off. We came up short last year, but that just means we got to go all the way. Well, they got to go all the way and just do what the standard is there, because they're bringing in good coaches. I met a couple of the coaches. I talked to the players. They said they really like the things that's going on. And the people in my position group last year was like, "Hey B, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna be All American. I'm gonna be a first team All American." Like it's always gonna be a standard there. I set a bar. So the dude before me set a bar, and we just got to keep going up.
Yeah, man, that standard is it could be daunting, right? It could be very very imposing because of what the classes and the teams have done before you guys. I remember on my visit down to Alliance, Ohio, probably thinking like 2018, 2019, coming out of during the end of the high school career, and you're talking about some guys that have 4 rings coming through that program. They just won it, and that was all they know. So you have this standard of excellence down there, and you guys have dominated inside your conference. Now you have to go and prove that on the national stage. What were those conversations like? Because you guys by no meaning underperform, but to that standard, it almost becomes win it all or nothing else, man. How do you deal with really high expectations when you wear those colors down there?
It's definitely hard. I would say it was definitely hard having that pressure, but at the same time, we treat every day like we can't go back on what we did, or
Yep.
we can't look to another day and like try to fast forward to it. We got to take things day by day and step by step. So we know that we got goals, and we just got to take everything day by day. And if we push ourselves to the best of our ability, then we can't look back at it and say we didn't do what we had to do. And we just got to keep pushing, which led us to do what we had to do. We didn't treat no team coming into it like they was less of a team. We always prepared the same way, and just had that dog mentality coming in every week.
What are you most proud of in your time with the Purple Raiders down there at Mount Union?
Being a captain, I would say, and then being able to build relationships with the players, and then not even the players, people off campus, and then the teachers too, because at the end of the day, football is not always going to last the longest. So it's about who you meet and the connections you met with. Because even with me going through the process, like I know my coaches was felt some type of way. They could feel some type of way about me leaving or something, and be like, "Oh yeah, he's not a part of the team no more." But they actually was reaching out to other coaches at D1 schools and was like, "We got a dog for you." So just the connections that you build.
Yeah, that's special, man, to have those guys be your advocates. Where, like you said, they don't necessarily have to do that. They could be bitter and kind of treat it that way, but we see in this new phase of college athletics, I think we've seen more of that, and those relationships really matter, right, with those guys that you've been around and spent some serious time with, right? Very meaningful time with.
Say it again.
You spent some very meaningful time with that staff and those guys down there, and that's an important part of the next step. What excites you most about that next step now, getting to be with this team at Tarleton? You're not a mid-state or a mid-year transfer, excuse me, are you? Are you getting there in the fall, or are you there now?
I'm here now.
I'm here. Here we go.
I'm here. I've been locked and loaded. It's nothing. It hasn't been easy at all, but
good.
I mean, this is what I asked for, and I mean, I'm putting on weight. I'm getting stronger, getting faster. We work out every day. We build the relationships with the people in our position group. It looked like we got a good team. That's what I'm saying. Like, even though we are all transfers coming in, like we all like have a good relationship. And like the coach says every day, like you don't see nothing bad on our team. We work hard, we go to class, we do everything we gotta do. We just gotta put it all together when the pads get on. But I'm just can't wait to go against these O-linemen and compete and show what I really got. That's what I
Yep. Get the pads on here soon enough. You talked about that 63 newcomers. Was there a big emphasis for you from this coaching staff to get in at the mid-year and give yourself a really good chance to prove yourself in spring ball? Were they really up on that?
They were. They was my coach Stone, my position coach. He was like, KB, you want to get up here and show him what you could do because we know how it is coming from a smaller school. He
Mhm.
had been at other schools and just seeing how the process was. And he was like, I know you can do it, but come in here and we're going to make sure we give you the opportunity to do what you got to do. And from there, you just got to take it. And that's exactly what I did. I got that phone call. I called him that week after I went on all my visits, and I was like, that's where I need to be at. And I just got on that plane. It came the same week.
Man, that is wild. I love that, though. And that's huge. Like you said, that's huge for you to be able to prove yourself in the spring, start to build that rapport with this group, this very new group of teammates, because you got 63 guys come in. Let's say a big chunk of them are mid-year guys, are able to get there and start working out with this new group. You get to be thrown right into the mix. You don't have to, prolong and wait and delay that process until, say, July or August when you start to really rapport on campus and get some things going. So that's huge, man. Big for development, but very excited for you, man. Excited for you, Kaleb, to watch it and see you grow with this team this next year, brother.
Thank you. For sure. Thank you for having me and everything.
We just got some big-time news in the world of Division III football. UW-La Crosse, powerhouse of the D3 level inside of the WAC, have finally, emphasis on finally, announced the next head coach of the Eagles. It comes from within, gentlemen. Mike Zweifel will lead the Eagles in 2026. We got the announcement just tonight as we record this. A little bit of background on Zweifel. He was the 2011 Gallardi winner at Dubuque after a monster season at wide receiver. He's an offensive guy turned defense. He's been the defensive coordinator for the Eagles the last 4 seasons. But you talk about the year that he had in 2011. This is generational numbers. 1,900 receiving yards, 174 per game. He had 25 receiving touchdowns, but he also had 29 tackles on defense, an interception, a fumble recovery, some tackles for loss. The best thing possibly to come out of 2011 with Mike Zweifel is an interview with our good friend at D3Football.com, Pat Coleman. Fellas, you have to see this one to believe it. This is a look, I think, I don't know how many years ago, but this is Pat Coleman with the aforementioned Mike Zweifel.
Here in Dubuque, Iowa, at the University of Dubuque, where the Spartans have defeated Luther by the score of 45-0. And I'm here with Mike Zweifel, who is the receiver in all of college football history. How does that, with the most receptions in all divisions, career, all time, how's that feel?
It's pretty amazing.
It's a firm handshake, Mr. Coleman.
Tucking you up.
Audio having a little bit of trouble down there in Dubuque, but that is Pat Coleman. This guy's been doing this forever. He's been doing it at a very high level for a long time. How about, let's give it a hand for young Pat getting down there in Dubuque for some good journalism. I freaking love that. I found that gem just doing some little YouTube research. But all that to say, he had a phenomenal college playing career. He's had a couple stops on his way to UW-La Crosse. Now, though, he is the head coach of the Eagles. Jimmy, I'll start with you. I know you are definitely a big proponent of Yagi, the former and current offensive coordinator, getting the job here. Zweifel ends up getting it. Give me the reaction.
Yeah, I would still would love to see Yagi get the job. I think he's a really good coach. He's really smart, really heady, really always knows what's going on. Very good, situational things. But hey, they had a long, extensive process, and I'm really happy for Coach Zweifel. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Keep it right there, short and sweet to the point, man. That long, extensive process he's talking about and alluding to, 42 days to select the next head coach of this program, that being an internal hire. I guess the question for you guys from me is, does this set them back at all in this process, having signing day in that period? Now, the thing that's going for them is, of course, the fact that this is an internal hire. So you're not looking at the same unprecedented rate of turnover, whether it is on your roster or your coaching staff, keeping a lot of that operation internal and keeping a lot of the guys that have made that team so special over the last couple of years. Does this set this team back at all?
No, I don't think so. I think if they would have hired Bowder, which again, actually, Bowder's the one that I thought was going to get the job personally. Yeah. I really thought that he was potentially the top candidate, but no disrespect at all to those other two. Just I know how respected that Bowder is in the league by basically every single offensive coordinator down there, but Zweifel, nonetheless, a very qualified candidate. But because both of those guys were there the entire time, and any time that there's a head coach that leaves and basically the entire staff stays behind, typically those guys are the ones that hold the fort down, like all across the country. If there's a head coach vacancy right now, I guarantee you the ones that are still there, even though they don't even know who the head coach might be,
Yeah.
like they're holding it down. They're doing their recruiting. I guarantee you they're still doing visits. They're still doing all of that. I think this is just anytime you have an internal hire, it's just, I don't want to say it's an exact continuation of what was just going on, but it certainly isn't a complete 180 like sometimes you might see of a completely new head coach building a new staff. So I think they're right on track.
100%. You talk about not being a continuation of the previous regime, so to speak, under Matt Janis, who now I have the pleasure of sharing basically a dome and an office space with up here at Northern Michigan. But he talked about that. Coach Zweifel did, and he said here, the quote, it says, quote, "The mindset and standard of our football program is not to maintain what we've accomplished the past few years. I was hired to elevate and take this program to the next step," added Zweifel. "The expectation is to win championships. We plan on doing that by developing competitive, connected, accountable, and resilient young men." Some pretty good descriptors right there. I like that. And lacrosse, you're talking about a team that has made a lot of playoff runs in very recent history, a lot of trips to the national playoff. They maybe not have not advanced as far as they would have liked to in recent history, but they've ran into some pretty tough roadblocks along the way. He's saying, hey, we've done some good things. We got to do better. We got to do better and switch some things up and try and take that next step and maybe take a little risks on the way there. I think we're seeing more risk-taking in D3 football and some teams willing to do that if it means having a chance at the next step, the next round of the playoffs.
You got to go for it.
The lacrosse's credit too, like they've had to play North Central basically every year.
Correct.
since they every year in the past they've had to play them in the playoffs. Like I believe like the last 5 or 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, they've had some pretty pretty good battles with them. But yeah, absolutely. Like I'm so excited for this hire. I think it's good for football. Are they retaining? Is Yegi staying as the offense coordinator? I'm assuming.
So going through the release and trying to read some of the cliff notes, that is my understanding. When he talks about, like, he uses the wording of like our staff, and I'm assuming that means they're going to keep that all encompassing. Now, that's an interesting dynamic in itself, right? You have two guys that are obviously vying for that head job. Now, they're not schoolgirls. They're not going around campus and like whispering like little rumors and stuff to other people. At least I'm hoping so. That wasn't the case down there. So imagine they go about that very amicably and very respectfully. But that is my understanding, is that the staff is in place. I don't believe I've seen anything otherwise. The press conference will be live streamed tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time, and I'll have some local media there. I'm sure that'll be the first question out of the guys down there.
I'm sure you're going to see an associate head coach, assistant head coach tag put on Yegi within the week would be my guess. I mean, if they were both really top two candidates, like and if Yegi does stick around, I guarantee you that is coming, which I'm excited for this hire.
I definitely am too, man. You've seen, at least I have on the X timeline, although X was down for a little bit today and my world came crashing down. But you look today and refresh and you see a lot of players and a lot of outreach from the guys currently on the roster saying, hey, there's no one better to deserve this job. This is the guy that we're ready to rally behind. And that's cool to see. Again, I'm sure a lot of those guys would have felt very strongly about Yegi being in a very similar situation if he were the guy that they end up going with. But to see that outreach from the guys currently on the roster definitely was a very big fan of that. Let's keep it rolling here. Let's got a little bit more of a fun one. We're going to talk about a coach that I think he might stand a chance after watching a little bit too much of the Winter Olympics, boys, right now happening over there across the pond in Italy. Let's go over and talk about Pat Ruley, the head coach at Rowan University. This right here, I'll pull it up for you guys so you get a good read on it, is the tweet in question from Coach Ruley. He says here, I'm going to call it a hot take just because I feel like I have to. But in my soul, I genuinely believe if I dedicated myself to being an Olympic curling athlete, you'd see me representing the USA 4 years from now. I said what I said. Hashtag Olympics, hashtag lukewarm take. What do we think about that?
Hey, I wouldn't count him out. Like, if you really go for it, like, I think obviously to get to an Olympic level at anything, you have to be extraordinarily talented and put in a ton of hours. But if he really, 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 really tried it, I'm not going to count him out. But I just don't know if he's being like 1,000% serious either. I don't know.
I feel like he's an all or nothing type of guy. My limited interactions with him, I feel like he's a guy that if he said something, his heart's behind that, and he really feels that he can make this happen. I'm not sure. Is curling, if you guys had to pick a sport, is curling your number one sport of like, hey, I have to medal at the Olympics in 4 years from now or else the world is ending? What sport do you pick? Is it curling?
I don't know. I don't know if I could compete at any. I honestly, like, I don't think I'd be very good at this. Like, I don't think it's the one sport either. Like, I think there's probably another sport. Like me personally, like I would rather do skiing because like that's the one sport that I think I could do because I've skied since I was 3. But still, even then, it's like completely different level. Now, here's what I will say, Coach. I would be happy. I would be delighted to facilitate you versus an Olympic curler in a year on any social media platform of your choosing, and we will facilitate. We'll find an Olympic curler, and you just do this for a year, and we'll facilitate the showdown here in 2027. We'll
make a whole production out of it.
Oh, absolutely! It would get views, but you probably gotta step away from being the head coach for a little bit to go.
Yeah. Dedicate your time, right? Let's allocate our time to the things that really matter here. And I'm with you. I don't know if I stand a chance at literally anything in the Olympics. My knees cried out when you just said skiing. I don't think my left knee would even manage to make it down. I was watching the moguls the other day with those two guys go down, and the Chinese guy flips and he finishes backwards and goes through the line. And I literally grabbed my knee as I watched. I was like, man, that would not feel good. Also, if we're talking curling here, maybe the strategy from Coach Rulli and company is to pull off a little bit of cheating like those Canadians have been doing and giving that thing a couple little tap, 1-2 tap right before it crosses the, I believe they call it the hog line. Give it a little 1-2 tap, give it a little extra direction, a little push.
That's some ball knowledge right there. I didn't even know what that was, but I want people to understand that like it's the same. This type of take is the same type of take of when people say kicking is easy or like better yet, holding is easy. Holding is not easy.
I think this also like comes along the lines of like this kind of reminds me also when people say like Alabama could beat the Jets or something. Like you're talking about a guy and like remember, mind you, he doesn't even have that much curling experience to begin with. And now you're talking about the best curlers in the world. I'm gonna have to backtrack a little bit. Like obviously I'm gonna cheer for him, but like man, I don't know if he can pull this off. I'm gonna challenge him right now. I don't know if he can do it.
Is there any way he has any level of curling experience to be saying things like this?
Maybe a little bit, but and if he does, I have to. Yeah, maybe.
I don't even know if Coach is getting down in that stance that you're.
No, that's slanderous.
If
Coach, does he have to scrub too, or is he just?
I think you got to do all of it.
I think you do.
I'm pretty sure you I'm pretty sure you got to like kind of rotate a little bit, but no. If Coach can send reply to this with a picture of him even getting in the lunge like that, then I'll even give him a chance.
We need a highlight reel from Coach so we can stack his film up against some of the best. But we've got some other, I would say.
Rowan doesn't have football or hockey, do they? Like they don't have a hockey rink?
That's a good question. Let's see.
Because I'm just saying, we should do a little facility tour type video where we go there and we see if he can even figure it out.
I'll be able to tell you in just a second if they do.
Or invite him down?
They do. They've got an ACHA team, an ACHA team.
All right.
So
I'm in.
That could mean they're ACHA D2. I don't know if they have a rink on campus because sometimes those ACHA teams will play at like a local rink, which appears like it might be the case here. But we do know there's a sheet of ice somewhere around the facility and campus over there.
Let's figure it out.
I don't know what the ice is like. The difference in ice is like. I have no bearing on it.
Did you see the figure skater that fell and blamed it on the ice conditions the other night?
Yeah.
He fell. This is like a big deal.
I think a few of them did, to be fair.
I think there's a difference. It didn't Zamboni that thing all the way through, you know. I didn't get to watch hockey till I went to River Falls, and let me tell you, that Zamboni is important.
Speaking of WIAC hockey, Stout just won the WIAC in hockey, by the way. So.
Oh, shout out Blue Devils down there taking care of business on the ice. Hey, that River Falls women's team though.
Yeah.
Second to none. They've played some national championship type games in that building.
Oh, they've hosted the last two and won the last two. I will
I just
say.
got mogged. I just got mogged big time right there. Jeez.
And the women are still number one. When you said Stout won the WIAC, I was like, no, they didn't.
Men's.
But again, men, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Shout out McCabe Dvorak. Shout out Stout Hockey.
Shout out the boys, man. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that for the program. Let's go talk about potentially the best non-conference schedule in D3 football. Wartburg just dropped it today, and I'll pull up the graphic here as we talk about this, guys. The combined 2025 record of the first three opponents for the Knights heading into this next season here in 2026 is absolutely outstanding. Let me first show you who they're playing, because I think that's probably the most important piece. They're going to open things up on the road at Monmouth, the Fighting Scots. They'll come back home for a 2-game homestand against North Central and UW River Falls. And I talked about it. The combined record of those first three teams, 37-4. Last year. 4 losses combined between the 3 of those teams, 2 of which made it to the national championship game, and then Monmouth, who I believe made it to the 2nd or 3rd round of the playoffs before ultimately falling to, I think it was St. John's. So you talk about some of the best football in the country, let alone right in this Midwest kind of conversation right here. Wartburg is taking this new approach, and we talked about it a little bit with the Wheaton approach and having a couple losses to top teams in the country and still paving a way and being battle-tested heading into the national playoff. This is a really exciting time to be involved in D3 football, guys.
I mean, when I saw the North Central schedule come out, I saw Wartburg, we saw Bethel, right? I think those are the only 2, I believe. But
yeah.
I thought right away, man, that's got to be one of the hardest schedules in the country. But this one is absolutely insanity. I knew this was a potential, just obviously having the connection with the River Falls staff. I knew that was probably coming. But to see that they're going to play North Central and another conference champion, I mean, easily, this is one of the best non-conference schedules that I remember. And not to mention, like, the ARC, like, that's a tough league. And they had to pick up they usually have 2, but now they are picking up a 3rd one because Luther left the conference. But this is, I mean, 3 maybe game of the weeks back to back in the entire country potentially for this Wartburg team. And I don't really know what they have coming back necessarily, but they're going to have their hands full 3 weeks in a row. And especially those 2 weeks with North Central and River Falls coming to town, like, oh my goodness, it's going to be fun. It's going to be good ball.
Yeah, that feels like the next step for me, too. I got to do a deep dive on what this team has coming back in 2026 because that's something that, again, this early on in the process of the D3 level is really hard to determine. And you do get a little bit of clarity when you see some of these big names from, River Falls has been kind of bit by the portal bug here a little bit as they close off a phenomenal season. So you start to get an understanding of the landscape of who is coming back. Of course, Blaha not under center for this team totally changes the dynamic, but they still have the system. And it's all about the system over there. This is a matchup in week 1 with the Scots from Monmouth. They won 9 straight games after losing to Wartburg to open. Last year, they lost 21-7 to the Knights to start things off in 2025. The Knights have never played the Falcons from UW River Falls. And you go back, we talked about that matchup with North Central in the 2023 playoffs down in Waverly, where North Central, the Cardinals, kind of escaped with a pretty tight, narrow victory against the Knights. And hearing from Coach, he said both games were scheduled before the 2025 season. And he even said it on a little interview I was listening to earlier on. He said, hey, this North Central team, we knew there's a really good chance they're probably going to be playing the national championship. They've played in just about all of them in recent history. We knew what to expect from that matchup. River Falls, coming from a great conference like the WIAC in that regional kind of Midwest sphere, they knew what to expect. They maybe didn't know to what level that Falcons team would go on and produce in 2025. That has turned out to be a crazy gamble, but one that is going to determine a lot of the trajectory of the Knights season in 26. Both these contracts are traditional home and home agreements per coach. He also referenced Wheaton and their MPI benefits, which I'm sure we can dive into a little bit here too.
One thing I'll mention, and this is kind of getting into the scheme weeds a little bit, but Wartburg runs a very similar defense to what the rest of the WIAC runs, which is they run a crush defense, which basically they're trying to two-gap the A and B gaps. They're trying to crush everything down, and then the overhangs are going to spill everything to the Mike. The Mike's going to make all the tackles, at least in the run game. Run a lot of cover 3 behind it. However, like that's basically what the entire WIAC does. They all are running some version of crush Maybe not all of them, but like that is what's making its way through the league right now. Has been since I think 2022 was really when it started to become really popular. And I say that because from my River Falls brain, like we saw it all the time last year, especially more so in cover one. But here's the other thing that I will say. Riley Warzinski, he's going to be the starting quarterback at River Falls. He's coming to town, and he's going to whoop some ass. That's all I have to say on that matter.
You know, Seth, we don't agree too often, but I am going to agree with you on this one. I think River Falls has they do just fine in this one.
Yeah. And the miracle at River Falls following that 2025 season in a national championship, you lose some big time players to the portal. We saw whether, it was the offensive line or the tight end position, but as of now, that coaching staff is together. So it'll be very interesting to see, if that continues, and that's something they can keep a hold of that nucleus. But that MPI approach for Wheaton, man, you talk about losses to North Central and Mount Union being the only true blemishes on the Thunder's record in 2025. They go on and have a hell of a playoff run. Go and beat this Wartburg team in Waverly on the road in some very adverse conditions. That's a Wheaton team that was battle tested early on. They knew they were going to have North Central on the schedule inside of the CCIW, but to go out and be proactive and schedule Mount Union, a really tough team, and to do that and run the table when it comes to the rest of your conference slate and non-con schedule, that is certainly starting to shape up to be the blueprint, right? We talk about this MPI approach that these D3 coaches have to take if they want to be competitive and ensure their teams that the best possible chance of getting into the national dance. You have to look at the MPI. And when you schedule teams like this, now all of a sudden, if you lose one or two of those games, it looks, I don't want to say a quality loss is better than a shitty win against a bad opponent, but it's damn close. It's really close in the eyes of MPI, and you give yourself, when you win a couple of those games, you get your chances of getting that Pool C or at-large bid absolutely skyrocket.
Yeah, you're not gonna see this where they play a bunch of bad teams anymore, especially with how things are currently with the MPI, where there's not a committee really. There's not any of it. It's all mathematical. You're going to see teams that are like, all right, we're going to rig this as best as we can to get us into the playoffs. And you're going to see teams start to play themselves twice in conference. You're going to see that happening. That's coming. But you're not going to see teams schedule crappy teams because also nobody wants to play them. Like, I guarantee you, a part of this was like nobody wanted to play them. And a lot of times, like when you don't have these things scheduled, you got to pay teams to come to you. Like when I was at Simpson and played Maryland and Baylor, they paid us a bunch of money to come down and play them. Was not worth that. I'll tell you that much. But that was.
Hey, Marriott and Baylor, by the way, we didn't talk about it too much, but that contract, was it Keystone?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I don't know how it's like the Breaking Bad meme where it's like we can't keep getting away with it. Like they can't. They continue to figure, like, I don't know if they like hoodwink these guys every time. Like
no one wants to play, especially down there. Is it Belton, Texas? No one wants to play down there.
No, especially nobody wants to go down there after COVID and 100 million degrees after driving 14 hours from Indianola, Iowa, to a team that just was about to win the national championship, and nobody wants to lose 84-6 and then drive another 14 hours to go home. So Keystone State, you better get some Keystone Lights on your way home because it's gonna suck driving home after a big old loss. I don't know a thing about Keystone State, but guess what?
I'm pretty sure it's just Keystone College. I don't think there's a state there. I think it's
Well, you're gonna need some Keystone Blue Mountain State beer on your way home. So there you go. I apologize. That was just so mean.
That must have really stuck with you, that Marriott and Baylor game, dude.
It sounded personal.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Yeah. The Keystone College Giants absolutely catching a stray there.
I
don't
think
they didn't deserve that.
Unless you're here's the thing. Unless you're a top 25 team in NAIA D3 or D2, you're gonna lose. I don't think you get what is going on down there. They got money you don't have. They got athletes you don't have. I saw a guy with 3 kids playing corner for them, and I didn't even know what I was going to do in my English class that next day. I'm just telling you, They are different down there. Now we whooped that ass up in River Falls, and a couple years later. But again, like you don't understand what is going on down there. I digress.
Shout out Keystone, 5 wins last year. One of those, actually, they had a couple. Oh boy, couple tough losses to Newport News Apprentice School and Hudson Valley Community College. They have a very interesting. Oh, here we go. What is it?
This jersey and this helmet got its ass beat by a lot. And so just beware. Like, I hope Keystone quote tweets me after they beat the crap out of Mary Hardin Baylor. But guess what? They got one of these hats. They got one of these hats, and you don't. Okay? All right. I'm over
Shots
it.
have been fired.
Scorched earth run on the Giants.
That was crazy. That was like I don't even know.
And honestly, it's not even because of them. It's not because of them. It's because of me. It's not you.
Trauma.
It's me.
Yeah,
it's
we
because
just got trauma flooded on D1 Rejects.
I had to go through that. And this became a rant for me, and I'm grateful for it. I just made some banana bread today. It smells really good. I'm thinking about it, and I'm emotional. But damn it, like I pray for Keystone Lights being drank.
Keystone.
Where are we going, bro?
This whole part's getting cut. This entire part is getting
the best part is this is actually the end of the episode because you don't have any NAI. So this is actually how we close it.
God.
So we go as long as we want. I mean, that's the beauty of it. No NAI news tonight, really. So this is the D3 is the closer. This is the.
What do you got a
star of the
Keystone
show.
Light there, Seth?
This is a non-sponsored Waterloo.
Not
Do you like
sponsored.
Waterloos? Do you like Waterloos? Well,
I've never
I like
had
the
one, dude.
I like the raspberry nectarine Waterloo. It's got 0 calories, 0 sugar, but it's naturally flavored with other natural flavors. So
I'll take
You
two
You could
Keystone
sell
Lights.
you could sell iced Eskimos, dude. You got a good pitch for Waterloo there.
what week is that game?
Let's do some research. I don't know.
Is this the worst episode of D1R of all time?
No.
I like the impromptu. Week 5 of the 2026 season.
See, that's the weird thing about that conference is I'm pretty sure there's only 4 teams left
In the it's the ASC down there, right?
in the ASC.
Because they just got a couple of their teams just got poached.
Right. It used to be UTPB or not UTPB. No, sorry, that's D2.
That's the D2.
It used to be ETBU, East Texas Baptist.
Yeah.
Howard Payne was in there.
There's the
I
graphic.
think they're actually still in there. I
Yep,
think
Hardin Simmons.
Hardin Simmons, McKinstry, something like that used to be in there. It used to be a bigger league, but yeah, like
Yeah.
again, like
Texas Lutheran, right?
Texas Lutheran used to be in there. Like all that, but Hardin Simmons and Mary Hardin ran that league for so long.
Yeah.
Like they just nobody wanted to be a part of that. And like there's a lot of other like NAIs, D2s down there that you could probably go play instead of having to play
So
like Mary Hardin and being a little bit easier of a.
they're flying
league.
too. You see this graphic? They're flying down there week 5.
Where is Keystone?
Okay, let's do some more research. Back to the Google.
This is good. This is good.
I mean, we got
Learning
to figure
football.
these things out, dude. We're journalists.
This
This is good. This is journalism. It is in La Plume, Pennsylvania, the northeastern part of the state.
oh boy, man, they are.
Yeah, did
they-
not know
they're-
that. Let's get a visual representation here. La Plume, PA to Benton, Texas, and let's
What's
see.
the furthest game you guys ever played?
Oh
like,
my
what's the
gosh, guys. Oh,
Are they?
boy.
It's not northern Pennsylvania, is it?
Yeah, hold on, I got it.
Up there in Scranton. Holy!
For the
Wow.
people at home, it's pretty small, but you can see. That says 27-hour car/bus ride. That would be why they're flying.
Yeah, I would say. Gosh, it's probably.
That's
What's the
outrageous.
longest you guys ever drove or to a game?
Well, thankfully, I missed this trip, but Northern Michigan played down at Lake Erie College. So you're talking the most like northwest part of Michigan, almost in Marquette, all the way down through Michigan into Ohio, like down there in Erie. That was allegedly the bus drive from hell. I did not make that one. Those are tough. But your usual bus ride for NMU is like, 7-ish hours downstate.
Yeah. My freshman year at Northern, I didn't travel either as a redshirt, and they went down to UTPB.
Oh yeah.
They drove. They flew though.
Yeah, they flew. Yeah,
but they had like a couple of connecting flights and stuff, so it was quite a trip for those fellas.
That's right. I missed that by a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was a 14-hour bus ride down to Belton, Texas, where we got our asses kicked. Full circle. Hey, good on them. I hope they win. I hope they do. It's gonna be hard.
Get the boys freaking pumped up.
26 or 27?
27 hours. But they're flying.
No, 2026 or 2027.
Oh,
this
26,
year?
I believe. 26.
They're doing it
this year.
Yeah, 26.
Right.
Sorry.
Great.
Yep.
Hey, good on them. I'm excited for them. Go get it.